This is my series of K-12 employees in Arkansas who have committed crimes against children. I'm talking about Nicholas Wright. He was a history teacher and football coach from Dewitt High School. I couldn't find a lot of specifics about this case, but according to a news article from Dewitt, Nicholas Wright was arrested on May 22nd, 2022. According to his arrest warrant, Nicholas Wright was charged with 11 counts of SA first degree, 1 count of SA second degree, and 13 counts of pandering or possessing material depicting sexually explicit conduct involving children. So that's 25 counts altogether. Again, I can't find a ton of information about this case, but I can tell you that in papers filed by the defense team, there were 5 sets of initials signifying that there were 5 victims. This is one of the documents filed by the defense team, and I wanted to show this portion of it because it almost makes me feel like these kids were specifically preyed on, in this case at least. You can pause if you would like to, but in this, the defense is requesting access to the victims' medical or psychological records, not only regarding the alleged assault, but also prior treatment, including for any yeast infections, vaginal conditions, birth control prescriptions, or vaginal examinations, DNA testing results, or other alleged grapes or SAs. Maybe it's just something that sticks out to me personally. I'm not sure. Again, I couldn't find specific information about Nicholas Wright's crimes, but I did find an article dated March 8th, 2023. So in the last week, Nicholas Wright pled guilty and was sentenced on some of these charges. He pled guilty to 3 counts of SA and was sentenced to 10 years, 5 to be served in prison. And he pled guilty to a 4th count of SA and received a 10-year suspended sentence. He will have to register as a sex offender, and there is a lifetime no contact order in place for the victims. Caitlyn Raines, she was a teacher at Warren Middle School. On April 11th, 2022, the Warren superintendent contacted police about an inappropriate texting conversation that had occurred between Caitlyn Raines and a middle school student. Police were told that when the superintendent spoke to Caitlyn Raines about that text conversation, she resigned. Police were able to speak to the 13-year-old victim, and the victim had screenshots of conversations that had occurred between the victim and Caitlyn Raines. Police could see from the screenshots that it was insinuated that intercourse had occurred between the victim and Caitlyn Raines. There was also text messages that alluded to photographs that had been exchanged through Snapchat. Ultimately, between January 11th and January 12th, police interviewed 4 victims that came forward about Caitlyn Raines. With victims 1 and 2, there was an exchange of photos and videos through Snapchat, and both of them had had intercourse with Caitlyn Raines in her vehicle on 2 separate occasions each. They did describe that vehicle as being a gray GMC SUV. Concerning victim 3, Caitlyn Raines had started following that victim on social media, and there had been an exchange of inappropriate photos. Caitlyn Raines sent victim 4 photos of breast. Caitlyn Raines was arrested and charged with rape. Those 2 victims were under the age of 14. She was also charged with 2 counts of SA for victims 3 and 4. In January of this year, Caitlyn Raines pled guilty to 4 counts of SA first degree, and she was sentenced to 20 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. I know that's probably surprising because a lot of the time we talk about how women tend to get lesser sentences for this kind of thing, but she did get 20 years in ADC, and she will have to register as a sex offender when she is released. I'm talking about Jermaine Thomas. Jermaine Thomas was a teacher and a basketball coach at Nettleton Junior High School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. On April 22nd, 2022, police in Craighead County received a forensic interview that had been done on a 16-year-old. According to that interview, the victim told the interviewer that she had been involved in a relationship with Jermaine Thomas even to the day that she did the interview. The victim said that she was in Jermaine Thomas's criminal justice class and that he asked her to airdrop her softball schedule to him. When she was unable to complete the airdrop, he took her phone himself and was able to obtain her phone number that way. He started texting her that evening. According to the victim, her relationship with Jermaine Thomas started in January of 2022. There was an exchange of photos and videos. According to the victim, she would tell her family that she was staying after school for various reasons, but she would wait in a certain place until Jermaine Thomas could come by and pick her up in his Cadillac. They would go to various parking lots around town where they would engage in intercourse. And then once they were done, Jermaine Thomas would drop her back off at the school so that she could be picked up. Several of the victim's friends were interviewed, and they did tell police that they had knowledge of the victim having a relationship with Mr. Thomas. One of the victim's friends said that she urged the victim to tell her mother, and when the victim did, the friend went to the victim's mother herself and told her what was going on. The friends of the victim also saw messages on the victim's phone from Mr. Thomas, who was saved in the victim's phone as JT for Jermaine Thomas. They saw messages on the victim's phone such as, "I want to hear you say daddy." Friends of the victim did tell police that they believed that the relationship started when the victim was actually 15 years old in 2021. Ultimately, Jermaine Thomas was arrested and charged with SA, first degree, distributing, possessing, or viewing matter depicting sexual conduct involving a child, sexual indecency with a child, and public sexual indecency. This case is ongoing. Mr. Thomas currently has court set for June 1st, and he was released on a $75,000 bond.